Here we are in part 2 of using the inspector to create a mockup and wireframe in Figma. So last we left off, we made this H1, we made this color background, we created some styles here in Figma. Next we're going to style this button, okay? So first of all, we go back to the website, click on your inspector tool, and then come down here because I want to make the card a little bit more realistic, okay? And what I mean by that is I want to create it exactly how it is here, 56 pixels, okay? So I'm going to go back to Figma and I'm going to click on this, and right now it's 20 pixels, okay? So I'm going to say 56 and see what happens. Oh no, it's so big, right? Okay, that's fine though, because what we're going to do is we're going to make this a little bit bigger, right? Actually, I'm going to make it 1200 pixels, okay? It's going to be 1200 pixels, and then I'm going to resize this, and I'm going to look over here, and I'm going to say, how big is this box? It tells you right here, again, in this little box, 576 pixels, 0.5, okay? 576.5 pixels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and it is clicked, and it's highlighted, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to say I want it to be 500 pixels. Okay. And does that look good? No, doesn't look right. Help your followers. Let's deactivate this for a second. Help your followers discover everything you do with one single link. Okay, discover. Y'all notice how that's on a different line? Help your followers discover everything, okay? So instead of me typing something else, I'm just gonna click on that, select it, and paste it in here, okay? It's in there. Let's see, help your followers discover everything. Everything you do with one simple link, with one simple link. Okay, with one simple link. And I would say it's pretty accurate. Do they have a period? No, they don't. Then I'm going to click on the inspector again. And I'm going to do my little select button. I'm going to hover over this. And that is the button. But then I'm going to drag my mouse up here to the link element. And then I'm going to drag it up here to this element. I'm going to drag it up here, and then up here, and then up here. And aha! Remember how I talked about the wrappers in the containers and things holding other things? This is the highest level element that is holding this button. And when you hover over each of these elements, you can see that it looks kind of different, right? This purple thing tells me as a web developer and knowing CSS that Flexbox is being used here. This orangey color above the button tells me that that is margin. There's margin top applied to this button. There's no margin bottom because there's no orange on the bottom of it, okay? And the way you can do this again is by clicking on it, it's selected. If you come over here to the right and you scroll all the way down, it gives you a little key. It tells you exactly what margin, border, padding, and the size of the actual element is, okay? So this is useful when you're creating designs if you want to create designs that are as realistic as possible, you know, closest to the web, what it looks like on the web, if you're using that for inspiration. And it will show you, you know, it will show you all of these things and how they correlate to things in Figma, or how you design things in Figma, okay? So let's just keep going. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna click on this text, and I'm gonna click on this background, and I'm gonna drag it down. And since we were in here, and I saw upon selecting the top level element right here, that there's 48 pixels of margin, okay? So I'm gonna come back here, and I'm going to say this and this, if I select these two, this tells you this is indicative, or it's kind of like the same thing as spacing, right? So you can either in your mind use it for spacing for margin or spacing for padding, since those are two different things. But for now, for the purposes of this, I'm going to say this is going to have 48 pixels of margin up top, and that's what that represents. And now you're like, oh no, my button text. Okay, that's fine. What I want to do with this button text is I want to come over here to auto and do 100%, okay, for now. And then I'm going to come over here to the text settings, and I'm going to say I want this text to be aligned to the middle of the blue box that it is bounded by, okay? So now if I expand this blue box, see how the text stays in the center? So I'm actually going to expand this blue box to be the same size as this button, okay? But we're going to change that because there's even more detail in the button, right? So this is the outside of the button, and we needed to know the spacing between the paragraph, or the H1, and the button. And we figured that out. That's 48 pixels. The next thing that I want to do is I want to figure out what size text this is, and basically the text properties. So I'm going to come over here, and actually, let's revert. I want to figure out how tall this button is, okay? And again, if you hover over the actual button, you see that it is 62 pixels high. If you look on this white box with all the summary of some of the information, it tells you over here, this button is 62 pixels right now on this screen at the size of this screen, because that's a different consideration, okay? But we're not there yet. So this button is 62 pixels. So I want to come over here to the height of this color, right? And that's representing my button, and I'm going to make it 62 pixels, okay? And it looks kind of weird right now, but we're gonna go back. This button is 62 pixels high, okay? So then I'm going to say, what is this text? This text is 16 pixels tall, and if I click on it, and I come over here, and I scroll all the way up, I can see that the white space has no wrap. The font family and link size, 16 pixels, 418. That right there, this number tells me that this is a variable font. So if y'all remember when we were in Google Fonts, I think in the last video, some of them were labeled variable. Now what variable fonts means is traditionally we're used to having styles, right? So we click on this Roboto font, for example, and we see styles, and they have a thin style, they have an italic style, they have light 300, regular 400. In web development, they have created variable fonts. And variable fonts basically just means that you can customize it to the pixel, right? So in here on Linktree, website, they have customized this font to be exactly 418 weight of the font. But because it's a variable font, you can't do that if this was a different font that wasn't a variable font. You would only be limited to the font styles that it has. You would only be limited to, it could be 300, it could be 400, it could be 500, but it can't be any number in between. With a variable font in Google Fonts, you can, go back to Google Fonts, and you can click this little box that says show only variable fonts. And these would be the font options that you can use to make fonts different widths like that, or weights. So that's a little bit on variable fonts, okay? But back to creating this button. So this button has a line height of 1.5, and it has a letter spacing of 0, 1 EM, okay? Button, I'm going to say line height is 150%, okay? And the text is 16 pixels, and this button width is about 260 pixels. So I'll say this is going to be changed over here on the right to 260 pixels. Okay, so that is a more accurate representation of what the button actually looks like. Okay, and again, now I'm going to take this button and I'm going to expand the lines, and I'm going to expand the lines just vertically, not horizontally. Okay. So this button has a line height of 150 pixel or 150%, which translates into 1.5. 1.5. Okay. So the other thing I'm going to say is the color that I want to use is this dark color that we made of this bubble right here. Remember earlier we created these styles. I called it accent 3, and then if you hover over it, it says blackish color for button text. Right now, this button is not using that color style. So that's the other thing. This is not using that color style we recreated. This is not, and this is not, and neither is this. So the value in creating color styles here in Figma is that they are easily reusable and memorable, and you don't have to go back and click on this element and say, oh, I want to double click on here and then copy paste. No, what you can do is let's say I wanted to make a new section, and I wanted to take this and I wanted to make this background this color. Okay, it is easy to just press I on the keyboard and use your eyedropper and recolor it. But then if you have these things, and then you have something else that's going to be the same background color, and then, another thing, and then you're like, okay, so I need this same color pattern, right? I just copied it and I pasted it and I put it up here. Bring to front, right? And then I'm going to take this button and I'm going to say the same thing, bring to front. Okay? Bring to front, there it is. And let's say I make a triangle. Okay, I'm going to make a triangle right here. And I'm going to color it this yellow color. And I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. Let's say we have to make different elements or different designs with this. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to delete this and I'm going to say, let's say you come back and you have to update these to be the same color. Who wants to go through each one of these and recolor them whatever color it is that whoever decided it needs to be a different color? Let's say your client says, no, I want it to be this color green instead, right? Let's say we adjust the colors and we're like, no, I want it to be this green. You have to click on this and update the color to this green. You have to then click on this and update the color to this color. So basically, it saves you a huge headache. It saves the developer a huge headache for having to go through each and every element that you designed with the same color scheme and have to find the hex code and have to, basically, in short, if we change these to use the color styles that we created, okay? This one is currently selected, and instead of using this hex code, I'm going to click on that little box and I'm going to click on my color style. Now this text is using that accent, okay? So I'll demonstrate a little bit more. But if I go ahead and I select all of this, everything that's that yellowy green color, and I come over here and I change it to that yellowy green color, okay? And then I click on the green, and I click on the green, and I click on the green, and I change it to our style, and then I click on this right here, these pink bubbles, click on those, okay? Click on those and I change it to my pink style. And then I click on the text. Really gotta get a new mouse. Click on the text and then I use my color bubble. Where is it? Down here. Color bubble. Okay, I use that. Now, if I select, and it will also tell me if I missed something, if I select all of these things at once and I scroll down, it will tell me I'm using my style that I created, style that I created, style that I created, style that I created. But there is one thing in here that is not using the style I created. So let's see what that is. If I click on this, is it this one? Nope. Is it this one? Yep. I didn't do that one, so I'm going to click on this and then that. Okay, so now if I select this, I am using all of the styles that we created. And the great thing about this is if the client wants to change the color to this green instead, let's just say a smidgen brighter, okay? They say I want to change it to this color instead. All we have to do is copy this color one time. Then we're going to come over here to our colors. The reason we got over here is because we just deselected everything. You get to your local styles, this little panel over here, when you have nothing selected. If you have something selected, then you see this, okay? But client says, I want this color green instead of this one. You're going to come over here and you're going to select everything. And then you're going to come down here to your primary and you can right click and you can, okay, I'm sorry. You can create a new style, right? Let's do that. Let's create a new style. New text color. I'm going to say, paste that new green color in here. And then I'm going to say clients new primary one. It's a long name, but whatever. Background color, section background colors, right? Dark green, section background color. Okay, create the style. And now if I go over here and I come down here to primary green, I can select this one. And now everything was changed and updated with just one click. I'm telling you, people, this will save you so much heartache, so much frustration. Okay, because now this is hideous and that does not meet color contrast and I don't want that color anymore. So now I broke it, because that's another way you can break the color that is currently the style, and then I can go up here and put it back to the correct green. So that is a demo on how to kind of use color styles in Figma and how useful they are and why they're helpful to use and set up in the very beginning of your styles and your designs. And with that, I'm going to end this video and we're going to continue in the next one. We're still going to continue styling the button in the next one. Okay? Thank you for watching and I hope I see you in the next video.